It's one of the worst things that you and I can probably think about happening to us, to our children, to someone that we love, and that is human trafficking. My next guest and my next author has lived that. I appreciate you sticking around and listening to Sandra as she talks about her book, Who Am I After Human Trafficking? God's Richest Blessings. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Sandra, what a story you have and what a message of forgiveness and grace. Let's go ahead and start by talking about what the book is about.
The book is actually just sharing a little bit of my, I would say, downfall or pain, tragedy, um, a little bit of that. And the book itself is bringing people through the struggles, the pain, but to see how God has brought me through. And the fact that He did that for me, He can do it for anybody else. So if they would go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, without getting too deep and too personal, would you just give us in a few sentences a little bit about your story so we can understand where the pain is coming from and maybe there's someone that can relate to that that's looking for help?
Well, my pain comes from human trafficking. It has two sides, labor and sex, and mine involved both. When I was 8 years old, my mom didn't send me to school. I was I was like a house slave in the house. I had to stay home, take care of myself and six other siblings, including my mom and stepfather. At 11 years old, she bought a house because we're now getting older. And I was given to the man to have sex with as payment for the house for 3 years. So that's where my pain come from. And in between those pain, there were other little abuse. And I'm her first child, and my mom told me I was the best piece of furniture in the house. The best piece of furniture in the house was a bed. So for 27 years, I lived not feeling like a human being, feeling like an object. And that's how I lived. So that's where my pain comes from. But thanks be to God, the Bible says a child shall lead them. My second child at the time was only 14 years old. And even though at the time I didn't have anything to do with Christians because my mom used to go to church,
Wow.
my son disobeyed me and went to church. And it's because of him I became a Christian and was able to forgive my mother. She too became a Christian. So forgiveness is powerful.
How did you meet Jesus?
It was one of the strangest thing, and you're going to laugh at this. My son, I told him not to go to church because I had nothing to do with church people.
Yeah.
We had times was a little hard, and my baby had one pair of sneakers, and the sole of the sneakers was coming off. And I watched my baby use needle and thread to sew it back together to go to church. So I said, I have to go and see what was at this church that was holding my baby. I walk into church, and at the time, my dad had taught me racism, so I didn't have anything to do with somebody who was white. When I walk in the church, it was a white preacher, and I left. But God, it was in control because I went back the second week, and it was the same preacher. This time he was singing the song, Our God is an awesome God. Isn't he awesome? And that song held me so much so that I couldn't left. And so I stayed back, and we had a great conversation. We studied the Bible. I get to see in the scriptures the love that God shows me. I did not know that God loved me. I did not
Wow.
even know that He sees me. I did not even know that He knows I exist until I start reading the scriptures and I realize in Genesis that not only that He loved me, but He created me in His likeness. And until this day, nobody can take that away from me. And
Your
that's my
story
journey.
sounds s- it's so miraculous.
It
And and
is.
and for everything that you went through, you could focus on all the negative and all the bad, but your book is a story of hope and it's sharing that we're not what's happened in the past.
No, we're not. We're not. We're not.
Let's talk
We're not
about that a little bit.
We're not what happened to us, and we're not what people says about us or to us. We are who God says Our identity is only found in one person, and God alone, no one else. And when I found it out, I decided I want to share that with others. I want others to know, because a lot of time, not just girls, but adults, men, boys, children, we feel that we are what happened to us. We feel that what our parents says, because a lot of time my mom used to tell me that I was an accident. She didn't plan to have me. I read a book, The Purpose Driven Life. It says
Yes.
that God planned the very moment that she got pregnant with me. So even though she didn't plan me, he planned for me. And that is my light. And so that is why I can share my story with pleasure. It's hard, but I know that it's going to help so many others.
Sandra, you are such a strong woman, and you don't take credit for that. You say we're all stronger than we think.
Yes, yes. And
How
it's
can you
only
say
because
that?
only
How can
because
you?
of God. Only because of God. We in ourselves we are weak.
Yeah.
We cannot do anything by ourselves. I tell you, even when I'm driving, I'm telling him, be my eyes. Steer for me, because there's nothing that we can do without him. And so if we realize where our strength comes from, in
Yeah.
our weakness, that's when we are strong, because it doesn't come from us, it comes from God Himself. He is the strength. He is our strength. He's our fortress. He walks with us every day, never leaves us.
So, something even harder, in my opinion, than being strong is forgiving. And
Yes.
most of us, Sandra, don't have a past or people to forgive to the extent that you do. And it makes me think, if you can do it under the circumstances you were put in, I can do it for the smaller things. What an
Yes.
inspiration. How do you begin to forgive on a level of what you had?
The reason why I was able to forgive my mother that way is when I read in Romans 12, verse 2, where it talks about you renewing your mind and not conform anymore to the patterns of the world. That was something that I had to read over and over and over. But when I got it, I got it. And I realized the forgiveness is not for my mom, it's for me.
Mm,
So for me to
mm.
be free, for me to live the life in the fullness of what Jesus or God called me to do, I had to forgive her, to release myself of that baggage,
Mm,
because she did what she did to me, but she was living her life.
yeah.
I was the one living it with that pain and that anger. So I had to free that. I had to get rid of that by just telling her whether she had received it or not, I forgave her.
Wow. Sandra, we're getting close to the end of our talk here, but I do want to share that you encourage parents to encourage their children no matter where they're at.
Yes. And one of the reasons why I did that, and I'm still doing that, is because my dad, to this day, I'm 63 years old, but my dad is I'm a little girl in his eyes. And he encouraged me. My dad told me when all of that was happening to me, not knowing what was happening to me, that I was special. And he also told me that my life is bigger than me. So I want people to speak power into your children. It doesn't matter if the child is not an A student, a B student, whether the child is a D student, C student, whether the child don't do anything at all. Speak power into your children, because guess what? Our children are not ours. They're from God's, and they're blessings. And
Yes.
so we cannot take away what God put in them from them. So we need to empower them to be the best person that they are, not what their brothers are or their sisters are, but their individual selves. Speak that
Sandra,
into them.
thank you so much.
You
Very
must.
quickly, where is your book available?
It's on Amazon, and it's
Very
also
good.
there's a Kindle version as well.
Sandra, what a blessing you are. Thank you and have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Thank
Same
you.
to you, Suzanne. Thank you, and thank you for doing this.